Now I want to go to Congressman Tom Emmer from Minnesota, who's the Republican House Majority Whip, number 3 in the Republican Party. Mr. Emmer, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Mike. Good morning.
Thanks for being here. So take us to last night. Take us to the, we'll get to the analysis of it, but what's it like going to the State of the Union and getting all dressed up and dolled up and ready to go out night on the town? Tell us about it.
It was miserable, Mike. Miserable. For the people that come in from out of town that you bring to the event, unfortunately, we had a president who was, in my opinion, he was unhinged, yelling at Republicans, trying to gin up his extreme left base to show them somehow that this guy who's on the sunset of his career, that somehow he's strong enough. But that part aside, Mike, I mean, I brought the parents of Major Air Force Major Jeffrey Horniman. He was 32 years old when the Osprey that he was piloting off the coast of Japan fell out of the sky, and he and 7 of his colleagues lost their lives. I brought Jeff's parents, Tom and Kathy Horniman. And I mean, as you can imagine, this happened last November. They had to go through a Christmas without their son. The idea that we were celebrating them and remembering their amazing son, it adds some great color to the evening, despite the partisan, divisive presidential address that we got.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the what's going to be, as his chief strategist announced the other day in the New Yorker. And we saw it clearly last night, right out of the gate, talking about January 6th and how this was the gravest threat to our democracy since the Civil War, placed a dagger at the throat of American democracy, the darkest of days. What are Republicans going to do to counter this obvious narrative that they're going to push for 8 months?
Well, look, Mike, I mean, remember, they said last night was going to be his big political reset. If Joe Biden is banking on his partisan, angry address last night to be this, quote, big political reset, it was about as effective as a strategy of rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. All right? Americans know that the real State of the Union has been defined by unprecedented crisis at our borders, total chaos overseas, and lingering economic struggles, thanks to this president's failed policies, and they're ready to abandon his sinking ship this November. Mentioning January 6th, Mike, before the border crisis or violent crime or sky-high grocery prices tells Americans everything they need to know. No one was fooled by his lies last night. It's his runaway spending that's led to double-digit inflation on the backs of hardworking Americans. And the one that just had to have you not just roll your eyes, offensive, Joe Biden said last night that, quote, America is safer today than when I took office. Tell that to the parents of Laken Riley, Mike. I mean, it was obnoxious. It was disgusting. And frankly, it was tragic because it didn't deliver at all. By the way, it took him 40 minutes to bring up Laken Riley. And when he did, he called her Lincoln. No one's selling. No one's buying what Joe Biden's selling, Mike.
Yeah. Okay. That was an interesting moment, though, right? Where he said Lincoln, but putting it past Lincoln instead of Laken. Marjorie Taylor Greene called him out, yelled, "Say your name, Laken Riley," and he did.
He did.
And not only did he, Congressman, well, he kind of did. He got it wrong, but he did. But then he said, "Killed by an illegal."
Yeah. What a racist,
what do you think about that,
what a racist comment, Mike.
You give him a little credit for that as opposed to undocumented citizen?
Oh, I think it's great. It's amazing to me that the check the box Democrats, the word police, it's all about gender and your speech, and they went nuts, as you know. That's why you're asking me the question. Yeah. He used the term illegal. Because, in fact, the guy that killed Laken Riley was an illegal alien and should have been picked up, and it never should have happened. And he did use the term illegal. And, of course, Nancy Pelosi, there's a true leader. Nancy Pelosi spouted off after how disappointed she was. He should have said undocumented immigrant. And then somebody else said this is just, a racist trope that is usually said. I'm so disappointed in him. Well, I mean, he called him what he is. He's an illegal alien that committed a horrific crime. And why don't you ask Laken Riley and her family how they feel about that?
Yeah. One last thing about the speech last night. I want to get some bills because you're the whip. He says, "I inherited an economy that was on the brink. Now our economy is the envy of the world." Is that what you're hearing, Congress?
No, that is not what we're hearing, and it's pretty pathetic. It reminds me of a comedian from years past who had a character who used to say, "Are you going to believe me, or are you going to believe your lying eyes?" Americans can see right through this, Mike, and they know what they're experiencing. They know that they're falling behind on the economic ladder because of these failed policies, because of his outrageous and failure to limit his spending. They know that the southern border is wide open, and this country has been flooded with 8 to 10 million illegals since he took office, and it's all because of 64 executive orders that he has signed to effectively undo what Donald Trump did to seal the southern border. And they know the world is on fire because of his feckless administration and their absolute failure and refusal to make our enemies understand that that behavior will not be tolerated. So Americans know better, and that's why Joe Biden's career is over. Come November, Donald Trump will be elected, and he'll be back in the office next January, and America will be better off for it, Mike.
All right, so Congressman Tom Emmer gets up to the microphone, all right? And you are going to deliver the State of the Union, right? You got to do it. And you're the man for the job, all right? You got to do it right now. The State of the Union is what, Congressman?
The State of the Union is in trouble. I mean, literally, we have become all about politics instead of about policy that makes lives better for Americans and makes sure they're safe in their own communities, in their country, and around the world. And, Mike, what I would say, one, you got to get this economy moving again. You have to unleash American energy production once again, like it was unleashed under the Trump administration. People don't understand that just doesn't affect the price of the gallon of gas you're putting in your car. That literally drives affordable energy, drives the American standard of living. So unleash American energy, seal the southern border, and make sure that our enemies, our adversaries, understand what lines they cannot cross, protect our young men and women who are wearing the uniform. And last but not least, let's ensure that we have fair, honest elections, because that's what Americans are asking for. That's where I would have started.
Yeah, we talked about that in detail yesterday, the state of that. You in the House yesterday passed the Laken Riley Act. Of course, it needs to be passed. It's good. It would require that ICE detain undocumented immigrants, illegal aliens. Sorry, I'm reading from a lame stream here. Illegal immigrants who are charged with theft, because the guy who murdered Laken Riley was just arrested just like a couple months before. So obviously it needs to be passed. But what do you say to the cynics who say, well, they'll just ignore that law too? So who even what's it matter?
I'm going to say you're probably right. I mean, no matter what we do right now to help this president, he refuses to undo his executive orders. That should tell everybody everything they need to know. He has caused this problem. His administration is directly responsible. For goodness sakes, Mike, Secretary Mayorkas was impeached for what? First cabinet member to be impeached in over 100 years. He was impeached because he refuses to enforce U.S. immigration laws on our borders. He has instructed his subordinates to circumvent those laws, and he's lied to Congress repeatedly. So anybody who thinks we can pass something that these guys will actually enforce, I would hope they would, but I'm not confident of that, Mike. And I think this is why elections have consequences. This is the number one issue for Republicans, Democrats, and others in this country. The only reason Joe Biden is talking about it right now is because it has risen to the level of a political liability that is going to cost him his election. So, show up and vote next November. Vote Republicans. They will protect your borders. They will protect this country. and get these crazy left-wing Marxist, socialist, progressive Democrats out of office.
Congressman Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip. Congressman, it's an honor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care, Mike.